Let's do this.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of 2.5 Salesmen, where we talk all things B2B sales, completely raw, completely unfiltered. My name is Mario, your host, together with my co-host Julio, and today we have a special treat for you because we have Fernando today from Shibumi. Well, gentlemen, you're looking rather dashing today. This is an all-Italian cast, I see. So the beauty of this call is just through the roofs. Julio, how have you been? We didn't see each other for a good part of 7 days. What's up?
I know. It's good, man. I fly to Cuba on Sunday. So it's gonna be basically 2 weeks of bliss after that. So yeah, kind of looking forward to wrap up the week and then be gone.
All right. Fernando, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you. No, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. I mean, I'm not flying to Cuba, but I'm here with you guys. Good.
This is the second best you can get. Cuba and then podcast.
I'll send you guys pictures. Don't worry.
Okay. Thank you.
So before we dive into today's topic, Fernando, do you want to maybe just give the audience a little bit who you are, what you do, this kind of a quick intro?
Sure, Mario. Thank you very much. Thank you both of you guys for having me. Well, my name is Fernando Pucci. I'm the Director of Sales and Growth for Shibumi in EMEA. It's been quite a decade or so working on sales for the B2B enterprise SaaS world, if you will, across, I would say, 3 different continents, a couple of countries. So it's been a hell of a journey, basically trying to help customers across the globe. Before the sales kind of journey, I was in market development, product, and professional services. So it was quite an interesting ride before coming into this amazing world of sales. So yeah, really a pleasure to be with you guys.
There we go. All right.
Pleasure to have you.
Pleasure to have you, man. So for today's topic, we've chosen strategies and insights for sales leaders to build and maintain winning sales teams. Basically, how to nurture high performance sales team. So nice. Fernando is a sales leader. I've also led sales team multiple times, Julio as well. So we are kind of very well versed into leading teams. But at this point, we will focus on high performance, right? So for the true champions. So Julio, as tradition is, wanna kick it off a little bit?
Absolutely. And I think it's great we have Fernando here because I've been following him on LinkedIn for a while, and he writes, really drops some gold nuggets about how to work in enterprise, which, let's be honest, we say all sales is equal, but enterprise is definitely a harder nut to crack, right? So I think it's quite important. Like, I think everyone else out of enterprise thinks, yeah, but I could do enterprise. And then the people in enterprise knows like, yeah, no, you can't.
No, just leave.
It's just honestly, I think most sales is very similar. Even B2C and B2B can be similar. But when it comes to closing multi-million, multi-country deals, is just the level of difficulty goes up like crazy. And this is where I think the high performance culture comes into place, right? And maybe Fernando, you can tell us a bit more of what are your experience managing this type of teams.
Yeah, definitely, Julio. Well, first of all, I'm not one of the guys that will say that nobody will succeed in enterprise because I have never worked outside of the enterprise.
So you don't know. You actually don't know, basically.
So I don't know, to be completely honest with you. But I think you're right when it comes to I think, by the way, enterprise is one of these words that has multiple different concepts out there in the market. So everybody will talk about enterprise, but nobody really perhaps stop to think about what it means. You can sell the same deal for this, a 20K deal for one account, and that same account can buy a multi-million, multi-country, like you mentioned, And that's the difference, right? Sometimes you sell to the same customers, right?
Yeah.
And I think the topic is a topic that I love, because at the end of the day, high performance, right? And I think it's a good timing. I think you guys probably saw the interview of the Greek guy on the NBA saying about the high performance, whether they failed or not this season. And he was saying,
excellent video. Excellent video. So what Fernando is talking, just for you guys to know, this is Giannis Antetokounmpo from Milwaukee Bucks. They just lost series. They were #1 seed, and the reporter asking, "Do you think this season is a failure?" So I don't want to spoil it. Go watch it. If you haven't, go watch the video.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to the level of resilience that we all need to have, right? At the end of the day, it's not about, there is not such a thing about overnight success. I mean, we need to basically work hard. But I think the most important thing, if you ask me one thing about high performance and strategies to basically drive that, what I believe, and I think I see lots of leaders kind of, I'm not sure if it's forgetting or basically letting it go, is the opportunity to really explore the personal side of things, right?
What do you mean?
Like you mentioned.
So when you say personal side of things, what did you mean in a deal, or when dealing with your highest performance? So what do you mean by that?
What I mean is, like Julio mentioned about the multi-million and multi-geography kind of deals, right? This is a multi-million deal for the company, right? So it's very rare that a rep will make that, will see a money that is comparable to that multi-million deal that he or she is closing, right? So what does it mean for that person, right? What is their personal goals? Do they want to, support their parents? Do they want to fund their kids' education? Do they want to buy a car? Do they want to buy a house? What is in for them? So once you and it demands a lot of work, right? Because you need to go deep and really invest time in your team to understand that, right? If Giulio wants to have a house in the coast of Italy, right? And that it's a 5-year project, right? Okay, so then it becomes very tangible. It becomes easier for you as a leader to kind of follow up and say how close we are to that beautiful house in Puglia, right? Rather than the 5 million for the company that sometimes it's not that tangible.
I've been in sales for like almost 25 years now, right?
Too long, basically.
Oh yeah, well, I've cut my hair, but most of it is white. So you just don't see it.
Hey, at least you still have it. Look at this. Like this is like
it seems Giulio is painting, by the way.
Most of the salespeople I talked to, and I trained a lot of salespeople, and I worked with and I led a lot of great, also a lot of crappy ones. Most of them behave like mercs, like mercenaries, right? They don't care about the company goals. They don't care about what they're doing, what they're selling. They're just in it for the money. So if we take that and use what you just said, right? It kind of makes sense, right? Tie it to whatever financial goal they have, and then run with it. But is that all that is to it?
But I don't think that's what Fernando was going for here, man.
You don't think he was going for that?
No, I think what Fernando was going for is like, at least correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what he was looking at is that in order to have a high performing team, you basically need to make sure that this person is really synced with what they want in their life, is also synced with what the company is going. And it's the manager's job to ensure that they dig deep enough to understand what the person underlying motivations are and then link them up. We had a game in my previous company. We call it maxing out. So someone came to me and told me like, oh, I want to get a new car. I'll be like, okay, what car do you want? I was like, oh, I want a Volkswagen. It's like, why Volkswagen? It's like, oh, this is okay. What about a Porsche? And then they'll be like, oh, no, I can't afford a Porsche. Why can't you afford a Porsche? Well, I would need much more money. How much more money would you need? Right. And this is like, again, I don't like the spin of this because it sounds too tangible still. Some
But
people
it's
want.
it's getting it down to the material. You and I, Julia, you and I both train coaches, right? So we've gone through NLP, we've gone through I gone through the art and science of coaching, right? The task. And whenever you tie yourself for something material, it is always superficial. Because all right, I get that house, as you said, Fernando, right? And I get that freaking car. Now what?
But look, sorry, Fernando, go on.
Yeah. No, I think that the superficial, Mario, part of it will really depend. There will be, I think, I don't know, you guys we have pretty much a similar experience, right? So we have seen young, probably and young and senior kind of sales professionals, right? And that will vary a lot, right? You have literally young people that, well, they just want to have fun. They just want to whatever buy the Porsche of the world, right? And that should be, and that's their dream. That's probably at that stage of their life is their ultimate dream, right? And then whether it's superficial or not, it's something that they will judge, right? For me, personally speaking, buy a Porsche doesn't mean anything, right? Because whatever, I have other important things to do in my life, right? I would prefer my kids to basically go to a proper school. I would prefer my parents to be whatever it is, right?
But
so
that's
it kind of aligns with what is important, what is in for them, what is important for them.
Exactly. I think we're all talking about the same subject here. Basically, now we use two bad examples, Porsche and house, right? But fundamentally, like we're driven by some values. For example, my value is probably like peace, stability. So I don't do this because I want to make a lot of money. I want to do this because I never want to be poor, right?
For me, it's glory.
For you, it's glory. Okay, then yeah, exactly.
Well,
but then you can tie that.
Whatever concept of glory I have within my,
which is yours, which is only
within my concept of my reality, right? So if we all three say glory, we all three mean completely different things.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever the concept of glory is for me, right?
But this is exactly like, I think you can even take an abstract concept and turn into a material target. So what does glory mean for you? Does it mean having 10,000 people commenting on your LinkedIn posts? Yeah, exactly. But only when you have a tangible target, then I think the motivation kicks in further, I would say. At least this is a clear part of the visualization.
I always come back. So it's 2010. I'm leading a sales team that is just killing them, right? So my main guy is destroying it, like completely. Like he's all over, right? And I sit with him, and I think I told this story on some of my pod when Julie and I talked about motivation, right? And I sit with him, I had a dinner or lunch, I don't remember, it was a long time ago. And he says, well, I built my dream house. I have the car what I want. What now? And I didn't have an answer for it, man. I didn't have an answer.
Okay, but Mario, but how much did he bill before that?
How much did he?
Bill. How much money did he make before he got to that point?
Oh, lots.
Yeah, so I mean, you won't be able to motivate everyone forever, I think. I don't know what you think, Fernando, about this.
Yeah, I think there'll be, I agree with you. It will not be always easy to motivate someone forever. And people oftentimes, they will have a goal, and then when they reach the goal, they don't know what to do, right? And they will need some time to perhaps think about that, right? And that will oftentimes be probably a transition between the material and the non that material kind of objective, right? There might be the case that, well, I got the car, I got the house, and now guess what? I need to think about something that is more impactful, right? Some people will go into whatever, help a certain amount of thousands of people to survive.
Charity, for example.
Poverty, go into climate change. So I think it's not that easy, but at the end of the day, what Julio mentioned before, at least in sales, right? I think that there is a need for us to put some sort of metric, right? Or for that individual to have even things like whatever climate change initiatives that were we're tracking very little to no metrics in the past. Now they're more obliged to do so, because I think it's the only way for you to make sure that we're making progress, right? Back to the interview of the Greek guy, you need to make sure that we're progressing, right, towards the end objective, and not basically whatever, not delivering, right?
Let's shift a little bit from individual to team, right? So if you have a high performer in your team, like I've read, this is a term that I've been using for 20 years. I read The Art and Science of Selling by Tom Hopkins, and he refers to these guys as champions, right? So that's what I use. That's what will I use. So let's say you have a champion, right? How are you behaving differently towards him versus the rest of the team?
That's a good question.
I think that's a very good question. I think that my immediate reaction when I face a situation like this is again, I need to understand their motivations. And oftentimes, at least on my previous experience, they wanted more in the sense of exposure, in the sense of responsibilities. And oftentimes the meaning for me was, hey, that's a very good opportunity to basically have someone stepping into as someone that can replace me in the near future, or can have a similar opportunity right down the line. And in that team environment, it's just a perfect opportunity to pilot that idea without basically destroying that great performer, that champion. Because oftentimes you don't want to lose the great performer and kind of end up with a terrible manager, right?
But you can't keep them at the same level either. Like if someone is the top one of the company, they're guaranteed they'll get bored eventually. If they always the top one, once they have enough money and the zeros in the bank account are high enough, they just either go.
They will not give a crap.
Yeah, exactly. That then becomes either it's your job to keep them motivated if it's possible, because sometimes they just won't be. And Fernando, you touched on it, but maybe it's very good for the listeners. Is I've seen it on my hands. I'm a sales guy. I'm not. I was managing 40 people. I was a shit manager. I was really shit. Like I was just like literally like very like micromanagement, leading, like dragging people along, etc. So I did all the mistakes in the book. So the other thing is your top performers sometimes are just not going to be good managers, and it's very important.
No, it's the Peter principle, right? I've known about this for I don't know 15, 16 years, maybe even more. People get promoted to their level of incompetence.
Well, what I saw as well, guys, was, well, I think we're right? Most of the times we're talking about someone that want either whatever to be the one that make the most money across everybody, or someone that is challenged in a level to be the first one to do something. For example, I had in my previous experience where I had one of these champions saying, look, we're going to break into a new geography. We're going to break into a new industry, right? Or we're now at a point where we need to create these enterprise and strategic accounts. And rather than going with your territory with 20 accounts right now, guess what? You're going to work with the top 5 cash cows that you have in the company, but then you're going to have a hell of another kind of challenge. So some of these folks, they're very challenge driven, and they want to be the first one to do something. So if you have that chance to create that, I think oftentimes that worked very well for me, at least.
Fernando, would you give your top performer a Padawan, a youngling?
Say it again.
Okay, so would you? I tried to use Star Wars reference,
Jedi reference,
but I clearly failed.
Sorry about that.
I'm not sure we can forgive you, Fernando, to be honest.
Okay. I have my original Italian passport though.
Nice.
So would you give your best performer a new hire to work with him, to shadow him, to teach him the ropes once the onboarding is done?
It's a trick question. It's
Yeah,
a
I
trick
think it's a
question.
very trick one, and I think there's no, at least to me,
We are
there's
setting up a
no
trap
easy
here.
way to answer without the context, because at the end of the day, there will be multiple circumstances, and I'll flash all of them for us to discuss here, right? So there will be circumstances where, I don't know, you have a big team, right? And for whatever reason, you were very well covered on a pipeline perspective. We're very confident that you're going to deliver that year. And even that champion is very confident, and you have the time and the luxury to basically do that, right? Then it's kind of, and also he or she wants to do that.
Yes.
It's the next career path or whatever they want. So then I think the answer is, let's do it right now, right? But there will be circumstances where, well, they may not want to do that. It may not be the path that they want to go. And so again, it's back to what they want, and then back to the context of your reality right now and how you implement that. It might be now, later, or never, depending on what you figure out. Right?
Guys, I would suggest, because we're focusing quite a lot on like specifics, and we're dropping really good value. I would say, like, maybe for the sales leaders listening, like, or even for people that are in the high performance stage, having a look at the overall good practices we've seen for high performing teams, just to give some tips for the listeners, like just to think about what is something that you've seen for high performance team that really worked, for example.
Well, I can go first with this one. I think that the thing that I often see is really a kind of, they are all ruthless with their time, right? I mean, regardless of whatever the industry, at least the companies I worked for and the people that I came across, they have a very good sense where to put their time, right?
Yes.
And they know how to say no very clearly, because it's not something that is going to help them to achieve their objectives. So I think, at least to me, is the number one thing: ruthless with the time.
100%. I think the top performers are always spending the amount of time with the highest revenue generating activities.
And we all come from Europe. Most of the sales, and you lead a sales team in EMEA here, right? So what is the line where, like, so what I want to ask is, how aggressive should the top performers be? And then let's look at it from the manager's standpoint, right? So let's say you have a closer, you do have a champion, but he's very aggressive. Right?
What do you mean by aggressive?
Yeah.
I mean, is aggressive like
overly
US
pushy,
US
relentless,
versus Europe,
like follows up every day, calls every day, like the stereotypical push it.
I mean, I think for me, it's simple. It depends on the results. Because you have some really pushy people that are really good at doing it. Like, for me, comes to mind Grant Cardone, American, okay? He's annoying as fuck, but he just makes it work, right? And I used to be the same. I used to be the type of guy that, like, I will leave your voicemail. Is like, come on, it's 7th voicemail. You gotta be bored of listening to these. Like, if you give me a call, go back. I promise I won't do it again. You know, like, and again, if it's done in the right way, it can work. And whatever the champion is doing, I'll let him do whichever way he wants to, right? If he wants to come with a how weight shirt, or, you know, as long as it's within the decency level, he can get away with murder from my perspective.
The only problem I have with this, right, with the, as we said, overall aggression, right, is that, is this a consequence of his style of selling and overall personality? So why am I asking this? Because what if others who are not high performers begin copying him and then start having not good results?
Well,
Right?
well,
So are you asking whether so let me see if I got the question correctly. So are you asking whether not good performers basically copying the good performers one just because they think
Whatever tactic
copying
they're using is because of the tactic and not because of the overall personality, overall being of the champion.
I think
think
that is a I don't know, at least from my perspective, that is not, it's not everything that you can see, right? It's almost like an iceberg, that picture of the iceberg. You can only see what is like, what is really on the surface, right? When you see a champion, let's say, being aggressive, like we were talking here, right? So that's one piece of the game. That's one tactic, like you mentioned, like Mario. But all the strategy, all the way that he or she organizes the business and goes after the customers and map the accounts and map the leads and go after them and leverage partners, leverage the C-suite to basically go after the key customers. I think, and it's probably the manager's job to basically, if we see a situation, spot a situation like that, right? We see a kind of a not good performer copying the aggressiveness of the champion. It's our job to basically go to them and probably provide some sort of visibility about the other things, and perhaps a good opportunity to basically match them and say, hey, guess what? It's not only about the aggressiveness. They're not getting their job or getting their businesses because of the aggressiveness, right?
I basically asked it because I do see a lot of reps. Maybe because they're not getting training, maybe because they don't have a support, or for whatever reason, right? They just see what the best guy is doing, or girl, I don't know, and they just try to copy him or her, right? But usually that doesn't work.
I mean,
you can copy models, you can copy frameworks that will work and incorporate it in whatever mindset you have.
I actually disagree. I think it still works because the person will try it on their own skin, make some mistakes, and either decide that the approach is not for them or just copy the approach. Learning by osmosis is usually quite useful generally. Well, what if what you're hinting at is like, let's say, like swearing on the phone, right? Something that just is wrong and is infecting the others with this bad behavior. Then at that point, and that somehow works for him, then it's different. So if there's a toxic sales behavior he's cultivating, and then that's influencing others, then that should be addressed, if that's what you're hinting towards. But if it's style and other people are trying to copy the style, like, I think something will be learned one way or the other.
Yeah, I like the learn by osmosis as well. I think at the end of the day, if someone wants to copy and paste, it is very difficult, right? Because at the end of the day, you have your own personality. And I think it's probably more useful that you shadow multiple kind of champions, even if it's outside of your company, so that you grab the two main things that he or she is doing, and then you kind of create your own or adapt your own style or model or framework and kind of start to deliver perhaps a better performance.
I don't learn by small. I learn by models. I try to see what the person is doing, and then try to break it down into either a model or a framework, and then to use it and to apply it.
Yeah,
at least that has worked for me. So Julia knows this, right? So I read like, I don't know, 50 books every year, right? And then when I read a sales book, most of the sales books are written by guys who did a bit of sales, had some success, and they read a book, right? So they use their own case studies. Okay, fine. What I'm looking for is the frameworks they use, the model behind the content. At least that's something that has worked for me. And this is what I teach my reps. all the time. So what are the models that are behind the scenes? Because everyone has a unique personality, as you said. Just for some, swearing works.
But this is just the way in which you learn anyway. Some people learn differently. It's like some people prefer audio, some people prefer visual, some people prefer reading. One thing that I wanted to run you by, because obviously, again, I was a quite tough manager, but something that did work quite well in my previous company was that I think to keep a high performance environment, you got to constantly get rid of the lowest common denominators. And by this I mean is that like you got to have a clear performance management structure, because if generally people will be like, I'm not as bad as him, and therefore they'll get away with it, right? So I don't know if this is something that you guys also had experience with and resonates with.
Yes, I think it's the normal thing, right? And it's kind of it's probably easier in sales than it is in any other area, right? If you go to other areas, it's like a little bit of a gray area, right? Where you have a bad performance or the good performance or something in between. So for sales, it's like easier. And I think that is you got to implement that, right? What I believe is that some organizations, they just, and again, I'm talking about the enterprise world because that's an important difference, perhaps, right? Again, I have never worked in the other side of the table, so I cannot reaffirm. But at the end of the day, it takes a lot of time to basically have someone really mastering and kind of selling enterprise, depending on obviously the industry and the type of solution. But consider that you have the ramp up process finished, the onboarding is done, and everything is, and you have data to basically check against, right? You should be doing exactly what you did, at least from my perspective. I don't see. I mean, I'm a big fan of it happened in my two previous jobs that I had a poor performer in the team when I landed. And the first thing of the big boss was, okay, we need to get rid of these people, right? So look, give me some time. Let me take a look, right? And turned out that one of them went to President's Club. It was not because of me, right? It was because they were not looking at the right things and they were not basically developing that person in the right way. So again, being conscious that people learn differently, like you mentioned, Julio, and people have different ramp ups. And at the end of the day, it's about your judgment whether you basically keep them or not. But a process to basically do performance improvement.
I do the same thing. Yeah, I always say no. Let me evaluate. Let me see where they are, and let's see if we can make a champion out of them.
Yeah,
or at least a decent salesperson.
and you also get way better buy-in from the team because they know that no one gets left behind when they have generally you need to have a strong coaching process behind it, because if you just start firing people because they don't perform right away, then the other people are going to think, okay, what happens to me if I have a crappy month?
Your highest performers will hate you if you're not getting rid of the bottom.
True. Absolutely. There's got to be a clear process into place. But I think a lot of what we're discussing about is obviously the bigger and more structured the company, the better it is, the easier it is, at least to deal with this. At least generally, there's always some horror shows everywhere in the world, right? But yeah, I think overall is this. And look, one final thing I wanted to bring up, because I don't think this gets talked about a lot, and I used to have huge success with this, which is competitions and like this, like trips to places. It's funny. Sometimes we had very small, we had like, oh, we're giving a £500 thing. Our commission would be like 2-3 grand, right? And then they're killing themselves with £500, like because they won that prize, right? So I don't know if this is something that you also seen effective in your organizations.
I personally have not used it in this one, but I have used that in the previous ones. And I saw the same reaction that you just explained, Julie. It was like, and it was even less than that, because it was it was a more structured organization where we have these points that you would earn and basically buy stuff in Amazon.
Yes, exactly.
But I think it was, again, it's the nature of the sales individuals. Like I mean, we basically compete. So when you put that spiff and say, hey, this quarter is whatever, right? Go to watch a Premier League, just one, and that's it. Basically, people will run. So I had good experience. I think the important thing to that I saw people kind of failing to leverage these kind of tactics in the past is that to use that to fix some structural problems, right? And at the end of the day, this should be just an additional kind of carrot, an additional reward.
Yes. Yes.
And not
exactly.
necessarily to fix whatever. You don't have enough pipeline, or you don't have that should be worked in enterprise world, should have been worked a couple of quarters ago, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Fernando, thank you very much. This was a very, very exciting episode. I do hope you enjoyed your time with the two of us. Try to poke up the bear a little bit.
No, thank you very much. It was like as usual when you talk about this stuff, time flies. Where I'm just checking here, it's just like 40 something minutes we were talking.
Yeah.
It was a real pleasure to get to speak to you.
So at the end, for all of our guests, if you want to do a little bit of promo, so what you have planned, what you're doing, maybe you're hiring, so we give you a little bit of time to do a little bit of promo.
I'll do a short promo. Hit the bell on his profile because he posts some really good content.
There we go. You will get a link to his profile in the episode description. So make sure to connect with Fernando.
Thank you, Julio. That's it. I mean, I work on the space. Like I try to put some content there which is relevant. I'm coming back to the content generation right now, so restarting tomorrow. So hopefully it's useful for the audience as well. But thanks again, guys, for the opportunity.
No problem. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, for you sticking by us. Fernando, thank you for joining once again, and Julio dashing as always. And to everyone, until the next time, have a great day, you go, and go out and sell.
Thank you, guys. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you, guys.